Hi Tiffany, so I'm going to show you how to do a bisqueware fire where you take greenware that is bone dry and turn it into bisqueware which has been fired once. So it's important that you find things that are bone dry, that are white and chalky, they're very fragile, and not things that are leather hard, that are still like that dark gray color and feel like cooler to the touch. If I were to fire that right now, the chances of it exploding are pretty high. So you want to wait until it is bone dry, lighter, chalky, and very fragile. So I'm going to take this right here very carefully. I don't want to pick it up by anything fragile. And I'm going to put it in my kiln. And I'm going to just keep on loading it up. Greenware firings, the objects can touch each other. That's okay. They will not stick to each other. They will not stick to the kiln, so they don't need to be on cookies. The danger in a bisqueware firing, where they're turning from greenware to bisqueware, is if they're too thick or they're too wet, they can crack or explode during firing. But nothing will stick to each other, nothing will drip because there's no glaze paint on it. Let's see, so I'm not going to pick this up by the ears. That would be very risky. So I'm going to pick it up like this. If I wasn't holding the phone, I might use two hands. And I'm trying to find things that are similar heights so I can maximize my kiln space. So I'm not having these touch each other, but they could. I'm just trying to spread things out evenly so that the kiln fires nicely. It's just better to have an even amount of items spread out in the kiln, or so I've heard, for it to fire nice and evenly. So that's what I try to do. So one of the more important things when you're loading a bisque firing where it's turning from greenware to bisqueware is just that you're being really gentle with the pieces, keeping in mind what fragile things are on there, where you should be picking something up, how you should be setting it down, and just moving carefully. And then, yeah, you try to find things that are the same height, and use the stilts appropriately. You can put glazed bisque in the same firing as the one I'm doing now, but we could talk about that another time because I'm not doing that today. So nearly done. Something that I still need to do with this kiln is I need to put the plugs in. I have the plugs taken out because it's in that kiln right now. So I'm going to just transfer those plugs over. We'll get to starting it in just a second. Ooh. This would be faster if I had two hands, but it's okay. So for example, these right here, I can stack them on top of each other, no problem, and fire them touching each other. That would be completely out of the question if these were glazed. They would stick to each other. So since they are just greenware, I can stack them. Also, I would make sure that everything has initials on it. I usually hold the kids accountable to that, and if they don't have initials on it, I don't fire it. I put it in the campfire area. right here, which is also where I put things that are not wiped off well, so that has glaze on the bottom, so I can't fire that. That's also where I would put something that doesn't have initials on it. So to save space, I'm gonna do that and pick it up carefully. And I can fire it just like this with things stacked on top. But of course you want to always keep in mind, you know, like how thick is something. You don't obviously want to like break the project that's underneath it. So I'm just putting those little pins on top because they're really thin and light, and they won't be putting a scary amount of weight on the little palette that I have there. Okay, I think that's it, because all these other things out here, like this right here, it's like bone dry up here, but the rest of it I'm not so sure about. It's a little bit more leather hard, and I wouldn't want it to have trouble firing. So I'm not going to fire that yet. Almost there. I promise, the video is almost over. Okay, last one. Okay, so maybe over here to even it out. Okay, so nice and even, may spaced out, and I'm going to put the shelves on. Make sure that they're definitely an okay height. You don't want to break anything that's like getting close. I can actually feel something that seems like it might be too tall for my stilts down here, so I'm going to move it to the other side. Okay. Nearly there. Okay. So what I did was I moved this because it's kind of tall. It used to be over here, and these stilts are shorter. So I moved it over here because I was afraid that when I put the shelf on here that it would like hit this right here and break it. So that's what was happening over there. So I'm going to put the shelf on now. I need to make sure that I avoid the thermocoupler, which I'll point at in a second, but it's a really expensive and important part of the kiln, so you do not want to hurt it by, knocking it with the kiln shelf. So this is the thermocoupler, very important. So you know, when I'm putting this down, super important that I don't knock that. You know, like I can touch it like this, you know, that's fine. I'm not gonna hurt it. But you know, if something knocked it and hurt it, then that would be a problem. So I put the shelves on. I'm done loading it, so that's all I'm gonna do. And then I'm going to close it. And shut it using this right here. And then I still don't have the plugs in, so I need to take it from this kiln put it over here. I do have some more plugs, so we could, like, I mean, we have enough to have it in both, but I usually just transfer them. Okay, so I have these. This is missing. That's normal and that's fine. I'm going to use it to kind of ventilate the kiln. But we do need to do something else to ventilate it, and that is to flip this switch right here, which is going to turn on the vent. I'm going to do that last just in case it makes it hard for you to hear me. Okay, so I should actually bring this closer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the kiln. So what I'm going to do is press stop, which just makes it go to idle. And I'm going to press cone fire, and it's going to ask preheat for how long. And since I'm doing bisque, I'm going to preheat it for 2 hours. And I press 200, enter. And then it's like, to what cone temperature do you want to do it? And I already have it set at 05, but if it was something different, I would just press 05. That's a good temperature for doing a bisque fire. Then press enter, and it's asking what speed, slow, medium, or fast, and we definitely want to do slow. Enter. And then it's asking how long do you want to just hold that temperature once it gets to the high temperature, and or actually how long do you want to hold it after it's finished. And I say 0 because it's not necessary. And now it's back to idle, which just means it's programmed and it's ready to start when I press start, which I am going to do. So I'm going to press start, and I'm going to turn on the vent. And it's making lots of clicking noises. A click just means that the kiln is changing temperature. It's rising in temperature, which it'll be doing for quite a bit. This is going to be running for about a day. This one right here, I started yesterday, and it's complete. It's currently at 386 degrees, and it ran for 16 hours. It ran for 16 hours, but it cooled for much longer than that, obviously, because I started it like 24 hours ago, and it's 386 degrees right now. And I really wouldn't want to open it until it was like 150, 200 if I really had to. But yeah, more like 150, or even, when it's room temperature at like 75 degrees is usually when I do it. And that's it. That is a bisque fire and how you start it. I can turn off the light. That doesn't affect the kiln. And I'm gonna leave this door cracked. There is ventilation. We have that thing going, but it does get kind of hot in there. So I figure why not? Just leave that cracked open. And I still have the storage room shut. And I think that's a good idea, just so that the materials, the nice materials like paint and such, don't get exposed to a high temperature, because I doubt that's good for them. Super important that you never have, and this is probably just obvious, but that you never have anything like flammable sitting on or next to the kiln, because it's going to get pretty hot. I have those paper towels right there, and I run this kiln all the time, which is fine, but I have space, right? I would not put the paper towels right there. That would be a problem. And I even just don't feel comfortable putting them there, but they're no problem. And yeah, that's it. Okay, bye Tiffany.